Warning! If you've been watching my videos for 3, 4, 5, 6 or more months, you probably already know a lot about this program. You probably know about my experience and my opinion of this program. So you may not want to watch the entirety of this video or anything past this little slide. But if you're new to this channel, or if you're interested in the 531 program, then maybe you might benefit from seeing this video. And I'll make sure to include some links in the description box that may help you as well. So, don't say I didn't warn you, motherfuckers. Hey, what's happening, my YouTube peeps? How's everyone doing? Matt here. Thanks for joining me today. I've been getting a lot of requests to cover this right here, the Wendler 531 program. So I'll set aside some time and let's talk about this. First, let's talk about what are the philosophies of the program, what actually is the program, what does 531 even mean. So I'll talk about kind of the structure that it's all about. Second, I'll talk about my experience with it, how I use it, how I programmed my workouts with 531, how I raised my maxes and all that sort of stuff. And third, let's go over maybe some recommendations. Let's have a little discussion, I guess, and feel free to drop some comments in the description box. Maybe we can talk about whether it's effective, whether it's not effective, what you think is better, what we think may be worse. And overall, is it beneficial for a bodybuilder to do a program like this? So I'll get to that later. So first, guys, I'll just talk about 531. What are the philosophies of this program? So this may be a little long video. I'm not really sure how long it'll be, but I just really want to educate you guys, inform you guys, and hopefully help you make some really smart decisions in the future. So first and foremost, yes, it is a strength-based progression system. It's a system more than anything, more than even the program itself. And people will say, if you change it, it's not 531. Yeah, sure, but more essential to this is actually just the system of progression, the rep scheme and such, more than how you use it, if that makes any sense. Okay, a lot of people use 531 itself, but they don't do exactly everything in the book. Now, you know, Wendler himself and other people would say, hey, he's not doing the program, but to me, that's 531. He's doing the rep scheme, he's doing the percentages how you're supposed to. So what are the philosophies of this book? And guys, if you want to check out this book, just type it into Google, 5-4-3-4-1. It's by Wendler. This program is getting really popular in both the powerlifting world and even in the bodybuilding world. It's insane how popular it's becoming. So first and foremost, you know, big shout out to Wendler. I really appreciate you making this program and selling your product, because I bought it and I profited greatly from it in terms of my gains. So what are the philosophies of this program, guys? I'm not going to read the book. I'm not going to give you every little detail, but basically it's really about the big lifts, the big multi-joint movements, squatting, deadlifting, benching, and military pressing, standing stiff, overhead pressing like that. Automatically, some people give it criticism because they find, say, the overhead press and the bench press aren't the most beneficial things to grow a chest and shoulders, they'll say. That can be debated, of course, but one thing for sure is when you get stronger at a lift, chances are size will follow. That was one of the main reasons why I decided to hop on this program, was because I wanted to get my legs stronger, my glutes, hamstrings, my back stronger. What better way to drastically increase the amount of the amount of weight that I'm squatting and the weight that I'm deadlifting. My secondary reasons for doing was the upper body. So first and foremost, it's all about these big movements, guys, and it doesn't neglect pulling movements. You program this how you want it. So being intelligent, you'll add in other movements such as chin-ups, barbell rowing, Pendlay rowing, whether you're machines or barbells, dumbbell rowing and that sort of stuff. Another main key factor for this program is actually starting lighter than what you may think you would want to start at, simply to take one step back and then progress forward, so that you could make progress in the long term over several months, over years. Well, I don't know about years, but at least a year and a half if you really wanted to. I made almost a complete year with non-stop progress. So that's another big key component of this program is nonstop progress. Another extremely important component of this program is PRs, personal records, making and breaking them. It's simple when it comes to lifting weights and growing muscle, at least for the natty. One thing is always like damn sure, you know, you get, I mean, it's not a one-to-one correlation, of course, but you get stronger, chances are you will grow muscle, you will get bigger. Of course, there's the whole idea of, you know, how much tension is being applied to the muscle, etc. But one of the simplest, easiest ways to overload the muscle is to simply do more reps, do more weight, or a combination, preferably a combination of both, right? Over time. So if today you can only squat 200 pounds twice, next year you can squat 300 pounds 10 times. I mean, do a little bit of math. Actually, you don't need to do any math. I mean, just think about it. You're going to grow. Your legs will grow. If you're deadlifting 100 pounds today and 300 pounds tomorrow, I'm sorry, next year, your back, your glutes, your legs are going to grow. So one of the things with this program that people will automatically dismiss it, they'll say, oh, it's not a bodybuilder's program. It's not a bodybuilder's program. You're not going to grow any muscle. Tell me, did I lose any muscle? Did I lose any shoulders? Anyways, let's not get into anecdotes or anything like that. Let's just try to be objective as possible. I suppose I should probably actually get into the scheme, the 5-3-1 itself. So it's basically a program that's broken into 4 weeks, guys. And of course, if you have this book, you just read it with me or think about it with me, and we can go over this together. You pretty much train 3 to 4 days a week. The most popular ways is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday scheme, or perhaps a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday scheme. And basically, if you follow it to the book or whatever, it's practically just an upper, lower kind of workout. So you'll have a different upper workout and a different lower workout that kind of alternates. So you'll do an upper workout based on the bench press and movements to help the bench press or just to balance your body out. Then say the next workout you'll do will be a squat lower body workout. You'll throw in some other exercises to balance the legs off, balance the body off, maybe throw some abs. The next workout, upper body again, except you start off with the military press. That'll be the main exercise. You throw in some other exercises to balance your body off. And then the next workout is the deadlift. You do the deadlifts, you throw in some other exercises to balance the body off, maybe some abs, and that's it. You could train 2, 3, 4 times per week. Usually you shouldn't train more than 4 in this program. The main component of this program is a system of progression. So pretty much every month what you'll do is you start off the program with a training max. Let's just say miraculously all 4x lifts are 100 pounds, right? I can bench press 100 pounds for 1 rep, squat 100 pounds, deadlift 100 pounds, military press 100 pounds, all for 1 rep. You basically start the program off with 90% of that. So you pretend your maxes are 90 pounds, and that's the only time you actually do this whole 90% thing. So to clear up some what's the right word? Some misunderstanding is that you only do this 90% restart or beginning once. You only do this once, unless for whatever reason you decide to take a step back before moving forward. So you only find out your maxes and make it 90% of that just in the beginning, or if you restart the program. People have been confused in the past, so guys, let me restate it one more time. You only go with 90% of your maxes in the beginning, or if you decide to take a step back to take a step forward, okay? So you start off with 90%, so all our maxes are 90 pounds, guys. Let's just imagine that. So what it does is it breaks it down into weeks. Week 1, you lift certain weights and certain reps. Week 2, you lift a little bit heavier naturally in the program. You lift a little bit heavier with a little bit less reps. And then the heaviest week is the 3rd week, unless you decide to tinker for whatever reason. The 3rd week is the heaviest week, and you do the rep scheme of a 5, 3, 1 with different percentages. I'll get into that in a second. And then the 4th week is a deload week, where pretty much everything is just 60 to 70, 75% of in terms of weight, and lower the volume a little bit. Don't take anything to failure. Take it easy so that the next week one you can go hard. So what exactly are the percentages? Pretty much, like I said, imagine everything's 90 pounds, and I'm not going to do the math myself. I'll let you do it. So imagine week one, it starts off with 65% for 5 reps of your, say we're starting with bench press, so you find that out, calculate 65% for 5, the next set 75% for 5, the next set 85% for 5 on your bench press. Let's just start off with that. We'll talk about accessory work later. So that's the basic scheme for week one. Week two, the scheme is a little bit different for the main lifts. It's just a little bit more with a little bit less reps. So you go with 70% for 3, 80% for 3 reps, 90% for 3 reps, and that's it. The third week is a little bit different, a little more complicated, but not super complicated. You take 75% and do 5 reps, 85% and do 3 reps, and 95% and do 1 rep. Like I said, fourth week, it's a deload week. You'll do 40% for 5, 50% for 5, 60% for 5, and be done. Something significant about this program is that on the final set for, on the final main set of each workout, so on week one, you're getting ready to bench press, you take 90% of you take 90 pounds, which is our theoretical max here, take 85% of that, you're gonna go for 5, but if you're feeling up for it, if you're feeling badass as fuck, you're gonna go for as many reps as possible without hitting an absolute failure, without totally killing yourself. So let's just imagine you get about 8 reps. 8 reps, awesome job, dude. You got 8 reps with what you were supposed to do, a minimum of 5 reps. And that's where the whole breaking PRs things comes in. By having this minimal rep, but no maximum amount of rep on that last set, you can totally just create new PRs and constantly progress in some sort of way throughout months and months and months, and you're constantly progressing. So hopefully that makes sense. You know, week 2, like I said, it's the 70, 80, 90% for sets of 3 each. On the last set, you go all out. You do as many as you can. In your first month, your first cycle, you might hit double reps or even more. Who knows? Because in the beginning, like I said, you're supposed to take it 90% and start with those training maxes and then move forward. And of course, hopefully it all makes sense, guys. I mean, look further on the internet if you want to learn more about this program. What you do is you end up adding, at the end of each month, before you begin the new week 1, you add 5 pounds to the upper body lifts. So now my 90-pound bench, my 90-pound overhead press is 95 pounds each. And you add 10 pounds to lower body lifts. So what was 90 pounds for the squat as my training max, what was 90 pounds for my deadlift as a training max, they're both 100 pounds. So you see over time, of course, it just, you know, a little common sense, right? The legs are going to progress quicker, faster than the upper body, being that they're just bigger muscles, right? They're going to progress naturally much quicker than your upper body. And that's the program. That is the most simplest way to describe the program. Just the percentages, the rep schemes, the deload week every 4th week. The customization part that's really up to whoever's doing this program is the accessory lifts, what you do after the main lifts. And that really, I mean, if you look at it from a powerlifting point of view, you should be doing exercises both to balance yourself out, but perhaps the primary goal should be to boost your main lifts. So exercises that are going to boost your deadlift, your squat, and your bench press. Naturally, the military press boosts your bench press, but you'll find exercises that'll boost the military press. Of course, and lots of pulling and shit. If you're going for more bodybuilding, then just train. You can almost train intuitively when it comes to the accessory work, or you could simply just boggle down, bite the bullet, and take one of these accessory templates that's in this book. There's multiple ones. There's the Boring But Big or Big But Boring, Triumvirate, the Dave Tate's Bodybuilding Bible or something like that. And I'm not doing jack shit, and bodyweight exercises is another one. And you basically just, you do not even that much accessory work, just you know, five sets of 10 or 5 sets of 8 of this, 5 sets of 10 of that, 3, 4, 5 sets of 10 of that, and pretty much that's where you kind of program it yourself, so to speak. You kind of just decide what exercises you want to get good at, what exercises you want to put volume into, what body parts you might want to bring up, etc. And that's pretty much this program, guys. What you could do is, if you get the book, the ebook or whatever, you can also do this all in Excel, and there's Excel downloads all over the internet. But you can print out these logs right here, you see? These logs. Like that. And this was my first month, first week. And believe it or not, you know, I started off with a military press training max of 165, a deadlift training max of 380, bench press training max 255, and for the squat it was 370. Mind you guys, yes, that was using 90%. I started off with 90% like I was supposed to. Also, I was coming off of a contest prep, guys, and now we're into phase 2 or part 2 of this video where I'm talking about my experience, or how I used it, how I programmed it. I was coming off of, you know, 4, I don't even know how much percent body fat, between 4 and 5, something like that, maybe 4.5, 5% body fat. Weak as shit, just because, you know, so depleted, on a deficit, etc. So my first couple weeks I was weak, but week 2 I was way stronger than week 1. Week 3 I was even stronger than the week 2, and for the first couple months I noticed just crazy strength gains just because I was adding more carbs, more calories back into my diet. Of course, with an occasional binge where I screwed up. But I mean, I think a lot of you guys want me to talk about how much my strength increased. I won't go over every single month, but what I did actually that you're really not supposed to do, or you're not recommended to do, is take larger than, you know, 10-pound jumps in the lower body, 5-pound jumps in the upper body maxes. The reason I did a few larger than 10-pound jumps, or maybe a couple, like a couple 20-pound or whatever jumps in the lower body, was simply because I could. I mean, I noticed extreme strength spurts in lower body just because I got more calories in. I had more energy, my sex drive went back up, all this good stuff that happens when you transfer over from contest prep over to off-season prep. So that's the only reason why I did that. In terms of accessory work, I tried to, I tried to keep things as balanced as possible, if that makes sense. Like for my military press days, I did lots of chin-ups, pull-ups, I did dips, dumbbell rows. Believe it or not, for much of the time, I didn't do too much like tricep extensions, didn't do too much bicep extension or bicep curls and all that stuff. And my arms, they did not shrink whatsoever or anything, despite not working them out too much. Naturally, they didn't grow as much as, say, my legs or my shoulders or chest did because I wasn't giving them as much volume, but just from doing the pulling movements, the pushing movements, they definitely did not shrink. And in my opinion, my triceps actually grew from doing just a shitload of pushing, a lot more pushing, a lot more. In fact, I did do a lot of close grip bench pressing, a lot of, obviously, the military overhead press. My triceps grew. If you follow this to the T and you don't do any bicep curls, your biceps probably won't grow, but they definitely will not shrink. So that was kind of like a give and take with this program, guys. In my experience, I didn't do a lot of curling whatsoever. I mean, I'm doing a lot more curling now to bring my biceps up as much as I can. So they didn't grow during these 11 months necessarily. They didn't really grow at all. I'm using the same weight that I used, you know, before I started contest prepping a year and a half ago or whatever. So let me go over and see what else I can tell you. Okay, so I guess I'm talking about my experience right now. So some of the reasons I really loved this program, guys, was simply because I could look into the future and know exactly what weights I was going to hit. And for most of the time, I knew my template that I was using, whether it was a Jim Wendler provided template or a few exercises that were in an order that wasn't a template. I knew exactly what I was going to lift. I knew the weights that I was going to lift. And what this allowed me to do was just be extremely focused on what I wanted to hit and what I had to hit. I knew it was like, all right, I gotta get at least 5 reps. So whenever I had a 5 rep week, at least in the beginning, I wanted 10 reps at least. And eventually I wanted 8 reps. For my 3s week, where everything is 3 reps, work up to 90% for 3+ reps, you know, I wanted always 6 reps. I was like, no, we're getting 6 reps. And me and Mateo, we would kill that shit. We would kill these weights. And it was just so, it was like, you were just one with this program. I mean, it's great to train intuitively, especially with the accessory work, increasing or decreasing volume based on how you feel, how much energy you have, how your recovery is going. But when it came to the main lifts, it was just like, you know what you had to do, and you just did it. And getting stronger and getting stronger, we were packing on size. We were packing on size to our legs, chest, shoulders, triceps, just by following the scheme, the plot that was mapped out right in front of my eyes. I mean, I actually, for a while, I wrote ahead. I wrote my training maxes the next month and the month ahead. So I had 2 next month's, numbers written out. I had a month after that's numbers written up. And I did this for freaking 11 months. I believe 11 months. And let me just go over, like, my training maxes: 165 overhead press, 380 deadlift, 255 bench press, 370 squat. Ended up becoming shit. Alright. Huh. Okay, so in the course of less than a year, my estimated, this is just estimated 1 rep max for the squat, for the overhead press, went from 165, which was obviously an underestimation. It was more likely around 185. So I took my overhead press from 185 for, let's just say, 1 rep, all the way to 250 pounds for a rep. And the most I've ever done in my life was 235, I believe. It was either 235 or 240, a strict overhead press above my head. My deadlift, an undershot. It started with 380. Actually, my deadlift took a beating from the contest prep, to be honest. So 380 wasn't that off, at least in the beginning. I noticed some big growth spurts later on, strength spurts. Went from 380 all the way to 495. And the most I've pulled recently was 475. So, and it's like I say it, but I mean, I can't prove it until I have it on videotape, that I could probably pull 500 pounds on a good day, at least. Probably not a bad day, but a good day I could deadlift 500 pounds. Bench press, I went from 255 as a training max all the way to 345. And the most I've ever bench pressed, 99% sure it was 340. I have 330 in a contest. I did 330, I believe, in the powerlifting meet. Yeah, I did. But my estimated right now is 345. And I'll tell you guys why I stopped doing Wendler later on. My squat went from 370 to 485 for 1 rep. And my all-time best for squats was 460 pounds for 2 reps. I've done 465 for 1 rep, but 460 for 2 is much better than that. So I guess, like I said, some of the main reasons I decided to do this program was because, well, 1, I wanted to get stronger in the major lifts, these major lifts at least, simply because it's a simple way to increase your overload. Add weight, add reps, etc. I mean, it's super easy. Now, you can't just view it as that, right? You can't just say, oh, I'll just get stronger. I'll just get stronger. What a lot of people ignore, and I'm starting to jump around now, and forgive me guys for jumping around, but what a lot of people ignore, or some people ignore, or people that, the way you get injured is by not caring about your mobility, not caring about your form, not caring about your flexibility, whether you're warmed up or not. Not approaching everything with intensity, but also focus, and a little bit of care. Just being careful, making sure your grip's right, making sure you're lifting in the center, etc. When you're on any sort of powerlifting program, 531, Chico, Small, whatever, it's just, you have to take just extreme care in being mobile, making sure that you're doing mobility drills to make sure that you can actually hit the full range of motion. You're foam rolling, whether you're using actual foam or PVC pipe or tennis balls, racket balls, whatever, lacrosse balls, making sure that your muscles are healthy and nice and mobile, and also just training smart. It's just like when you're on a powerlifting program, you just have to kind of be smart. Once in a while, you have to decide, today's not my day to lift this, but I guess those are some suggestions, and I think a lot of people will be much better off on doing the 5-3-1 as long as they're paying a lot of attention to doing pre-workout mobility drills, flexibility drills, warming up safely, correctly, not spending too much energy to warm up, just warming up intelligently, and educating themselves on mobility online. What the freak's the name? Mobility WOD. Look that up. Great shit. And just educate yourself on being mobile, and that's one of the best things to do if you're going to get on this program. So you're probably wondering, hey Matt, do you think you gained size on this program? Did I gain mass? Did I do this? Yes, definitely. My legs are bigger. Even my freaking calves are bigger. Then again, I started doing incredibly high volume calves recently. Chest, yes, it does seem bigger in all areas. Shoulders, definitely bigger. Legs bigger. I mean, all my muscles are bigger, granted, or except for perhaps biceps, which did not shrink. They just did not progress because I didn't prioritize them in my program for the last like 11 months. So I don't see that as a horrible thing that my biceps did not grow, because triceps, shoulders, every freaking body part grew, and I'm gonna spend the next 6 months adding some quality mass to my biceps. Let's talk about some discussion questions that I'm sure a lot of people are gonna come up with. Matt, why did you do 5-3-1 when perhaps, say, a hypertrophy based upper lower split is theoretically way more optimal, it's like my argument for that is there's so many different areas you talk to. I wish I had my 3DMJ coaches with me, because they would be able to help me explain this much better than I could. I'm not as intelligent as they are now, at least. But like I said, with this program I was able to quickly add a lot of pounds to the majority of my lifts, and consequently I've grown. It's transferred over into heavier lifts in the hypertrophy based ranges as well. So I'm able to dumbbell press, military press, significant amounts of weight, squat and deadlift significant amounts of weight in the 8, in the 10, in the 12 rep range, compared to back when I began. I've been able to progress in multiple rep ranges, not just in these 5-3-1 rep ranges. What else? I don't have the greatest argument for why it would be more optimal. I think the reason I like it so much is because it worked for me. I mean, that sounds horrible. It works for you, but I think a truly effective program is one that a person enjoys doing. They wake up in the morning excited to do it. One that they can complete. They get all the prescribed numbers, and it just makes sense on paper, and it makes sense in practice for them. And one that has constant progression written out, spelled out for them, and that's what this program had. It had constant progression written out, spelled out for me. Definitely a reason why I enjoyed it so much. Every week, like I said, or every month, upping the maxes, the weights got heavier, yet still I was blasting out, more reps of the hypertrophy weight ranges, and overall I just felt like it was just a great program for me. The only proof I'll have is on stage, right? Is on stage. You guys will have to see. So back to the thing about, is this optimal for a bodybuilder, etc. I guess we could talk about, have some discussions, questions, whatever. I mean, one thing I recommend doing is logging on to 3dmusclesjourney.com, and I don't mean to just throw you somewhere off and for me to ignore this topic, but I always love reading Alberto Nunez's articles on powerlifting, on squatting heavy, deadlifting heavy, etc., and on why he powerlifts and recommends powerlifting for even bodybuilders. And I remember this one analogy, guys, that he used that it made a lot of sense to me. He was like, you can think of bodybuilding as, you know, cups of water. You know, you're filling up cups of water, and you fill it up with, say, hypertrophy style training. You have a cup of water, you fill it up with hypertrophy style training. Eventually, you can't fill it up anymore, right? You just, it's overflowing. No matter what you do, it's just not, nothing else is happening. You're using the same weights, for example. You're not getting more progression. And I believe, and don't hold me on this, but I believe his explanation was, you know, powerlifting, or throwing a powerlifting cycle of 6 months or whatever in there would be like grabbing a new cup. Grabbing a new cup and adding it to the collection. So you have a pitcher of water, right? And you can grab a new cup by doing 6 months on powerlifting program. 6 months later, you start, I mean, you're constantly filling these back up with hypertrophy cycles, etc. So that's kind of how he explained it, and to me, it made a lot of sense, and it just clicked for me. And I recommend you check out some of the articles on 3dmusclejourney.com of why powerlifting programs can be wise choices for a natural competitive bodybuilder. Granted, you know, you don't have to be the strongest guy in the world to be healthy or to just look good, but when you are extremely, if you're really competitive, you know, you want to freaking be a very competitive natural bodybuilder. You know, you just gotta train smart. Obviously there's the idea of longevity, which is why I really promote mobility, flexibility, and that sort of shit. But like Alberto said, you know, powerlifting cycle of 6 months or a year, you're adding a new cup, you're giving yourself more room to grow into, you know. And that's kind of how I looked at it. I mean, that's not scientific, of course, obviously, but it's kind of how I looked at it. I'm looking at some articles right now to kind of help explain my point, but not really getting much of it. I mean, other things I've noticed always was with these, you know, a lot of my competitive natural bodybuilding peers, a lot of the guys with extremely impressive leg development have always been guys who threw in, I mean, at least with the guys that were younger, were guys that squatted and deadlifted very heavy weights. And that was kind of my motivation to get on this program and get my squat up, get my deadlift up. And kind of running out of things to say now because I feel like I've just covered this damn topic enough. I recommend this program. I do. It's like, do you have to do it? Obviously not. You can obviously get away with a bro split 5 days a week. You can get away with an upper lower. You can get away with the legs push pull off split repeat. But I'm really grateful I did this simply because it got my lifts. I got strong at pushing. I got strong at bench pressing and pressing shit. I got strong at putting shit above my head. I got strong at squatting. I got strong at deadlifting. And now I'm at a higher level to throw around bigger weights in every rep range. So that's just how I look at this program. I mean, I was able to, yes, over 11 months, add a lot of strength to my body. And I actually believe I might even get back on this program during my contest prep. But for the next 6 months, you know, I've decided to do a more hypertrophy based, less power lifting, less strength rep, 1 to 3 rep based training. Simply like the analogy said, you know, to fill up my cup. You know, I got an empty cup now. I have this, you know, I might even have a few cups that are empty from doing all this powerlifting style training. I'm ready to fill that shit up with some hypertrophy style training. So that was it for this. I mean, if you have any questions, guys, leave it in the comments box, and I could probably hit it up for you. You can find this on Amazon.com. Definitely recommend it. You can find PDF. I mean, you can find all sorts of articles on it online on tnation.com, tnation.com, and yeah, check this out. You know, if you want to. A lot of my peers are doing it. A lot of them have nothing but great things to say. Mateo did it with me. He absolutely loved it, and it's just I look at this as like an investment. A lot of people see this as, you know, it's also actually a great way of training just for the average Joe or whatever. But I looked at this as an investment into my bodybuilding career, spending a good year doing this, and I got strong. That's all I can say. I got pretty strong for my weight, which is currently like 183 pounds or so. I might get back on it, like I said, to maintain my strength during my cut. But you know, I'm gonna spend a little bit of time working in the 8 rep range, the 10 rep range, and I'll dip back into lower, you know, 3, 4, 5 rep deadlifts, perhaps 5 rep squats, as low as 5 rep squats. Every once in a while, I'll throw a little bit of strength work into my legs push-pull program, but most of all, I'm just doing 8 to 10 rep almost everything. So shit, this was a long ass video, guys, and thanks for staying with me, whoever's still with me. I didn't think this was gonna be an exciting video, just because, I mean, we're talking about a program here. I mean, it would probably be cooler if I had like a few other people who've done this program to talk with, but I mean, I always recommend this book to a lot of people. And while I'm here, it's like, you know, Matt, what about if I'm a beginner? Should I hop on 531? No, I don't think any beginner should hop on 531, just because it works off of a monthly system. I mean, a beginner can progress in strength so much better, and a lot of people are going to be like, Matt, you should not show people this book because it's not hypertrophy based for a bodybuilder. But like I said, I look at my, I don't know, I see, just, I've noticed in a lot of people, when you take strength program and then a hypertrophy program and then a strength program, hypertrophy program, it just works well. So any beginner, I always recommend a strength program, like starting strength, to at least begin with. Get your numbers up to respectable amounts. Get your squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press, barbell row up to something respectable. And then after you stop making gains on the daily, on the weekly, move over to something, you know, like a Mad Cows, or move over to something like the Texas Method or Ripeto's second book. And then maybe in your, you know, second, third, or fourth year of training, you can go over to something like a 531. And yeah, that's my recommendation to the natural bodybuilder or anyone out there. So, shit, anyone who's still watching this, motherfuckers, thank you, I guess, for watching this. I only made this video for you guys. I mean, I'm looking to the future. I'm really excited to tell you guys more about my legs push pull split than I was to tell you about this. It's like I love talking about the past, but I mean, after time passes, it kind of gets stale. It's just like, now I don't really want to talk about that no more. So, anyways, thanks a lot, guys. If you're still here, if you don't know who I am, you know, subscribe, like this shit, whatever. And I'm gonna go work on a couple of videos for you guys. A legs video, a push video, and a pull video, and I'll get that to you ASAP. So, cool. That's kind of my video on 531. Shit, it wasn't that exciting, but peace! And quit being a little bitch!
Ogus cake!